Who are the biggest flops in the UFC? Well, today we're going to be doing a tier list and finding that out. I've got people all around the screen. I'm going to drag and drop them into the tier list on where I think they go. S tier being the biggest flops of all time in the UFC, all the way down to F tier, who are, kind of less flops, but still didn't really live up to expectations. So I'm MMA Tizzer. Subscribe if you're new. I do content like this every single day. Without further ado, let's get right into this tier list. So to start things off, we are going for Kimbo Slice and putting him at A tier. Kimbo, obviously, rest in peace. I'm not going to say too much bad about him because obviously I don't want to speak ill of the dead. But you know, a lot of fans knew that he was going to crumble in the UFC because he's very one dimensional and actually a terrible fighter. But a lot of casual fans who'd seen his backyard brawls and all his fighting in his garden and all that in the wired cages, they were thinking this guy was going to go on an absolute rampage, a big knockout spree. And I'm pretty sure he won one fight. I think he got a TKO. Then he just lost his next fight by decision, and he looked really, really bad in it. He was getting his leg chewed up. He was just getting pieced up. He got taken down. He gassed in like 2 minutes of the first round, and it's just a really bad performance. And it just showed that this guy was literally just a backyard brawler, and he was not UFC caliber whatsoever. And he had a really, really, really one-dimensional skill set. So obviously that's why Kimbo's there. I mean, I do respect him for stepping in the cage. He gave it a shot, and I do know that he made a lot of money. But unfortunately, he didn't really have much time to spend it because he passed away only a few years after he made his UFC appearances, which is a shame. So obviously, rest in peace, Kimbo Slice. We move on. Uriah Hall. He's going in D tier, or maybe we're going for C tier with Uriah Hall because this guy on The Ultimate Fighter, he looked like the most scary guy ever. Dana White genuinely thought he had the next big UFC star on his hands. He was thinking that Uriah Hall was about to be the UFC poster boy because he was just knocking people out with crazy KOs left, right, and center. You've all seen them online. Obviously, we all know that one where he knocked that guy out, like 360 spin kicked him. It was crazy. What a knockout, I have to say. But Dana White was really hyped. Everyone watching Tough was really hyped. But then we soon realised that this guy, he ain't that good. This guy's he's just a bit of a if I can't knock them out, I'm done merchant. You know what I mean? This guy's basically if he can't knock them out like that, if they're not absolutely terrible at striking, he would crumble and wilt. And it showed in his pretty one-dimensional skill set. We're going to start to see a theme on this tier list. But yeah, so pretty one-dimensional. Struggled against guys who actually knew what to do in a cage. And yeah, that's kind of the problem with Uriah Hall. He never lived up to expectations. Obviously, definitely didn't live up to Dana's. Dana genuinely thought he was about to make £1 billion from this guy. And yeah, I mean, is he an alright fighter? Yeah, he's good. Obviously, he's beat a few good people in his career, but he also seemed to show a bit of remorse about knocking people out. So obviously, that's not really good when you're wanting to be a fighter, is it? But had some good wins, but also had a lot of bad losses too. So that's why he's on C tier. Definitely underwhelmed people compared to what he was appearing to be like on the first few fights in The Ultimate Fighter. We move on. Raul Rosas Jr. This one's obviously a lot more recent. I saw a lot of people commenting this guy is going to be firstborn champ, youngest champ ever. He's going to beat John Jones' record. Champ at 20, champ at 21 or whatever. But we all know that's not going to happen now, don't we? Because Raul Rosas Jr. recently got exposed. And this guy literally, if he can't grapple you, you're going to win the fight. Because on the feet, this guy sucks, I'm going to be honest. Really bad stand-up. I'm surprised he actually looked good on Dana White's Contender Series on the feet. It just showed you how bad some of the people he were fighting was. In fact, Jay Perrin was piecing this guy up before he got the takedown. So Jay Perrin, if you're watching this, mad respect, bro, because you almost ended the hype train a bit earlier. But unfortunately, you got taken down, subbed and cut from the UFC. So unlucky, bro. But yeah, Raul Rosas Jr. got beaten in his next fight anyway, so it doesn't really matter. This guy gassed. He looked sloppy on the feet. His wrestling isn't actually that good. If someone knows how to stuff a takedown or actually grapple on the floor, couldn't really do anything. Gassed, got controlled for basically the best part of 2 rounds. First round he was alright. Second round lost it. Third round got dominated. So yeah, that's what happens when you fight actually good people in UFC. And do I think this guy's ever going to be champion? No, not in bantamweight. This guy, I don't even think he should be a bantamweight. He's a flyweight to me. He looks really small. And imagine him, all I'm going to say is imagine him fighting Peter Yan. Imagine that in a few years. Yeah, exactly. You know how that would go. We move on. Paddy Pimblett. Paddy's going in D because he hasn't actually lost a fight yet on paper, but we all know that he lost to Jared Gordon. It's literally common knowledge. Everyone accepts it. And I think he wouldn't maybe be on this list, but he took the loss. He won, but he took it so poorly. He lost so much hype and respect. It just showed that he's kind of maybe not the most fun fighter to watch. And some of his knockouts might have been flukes, but poor performance, really poor, made him lose a lot of fans. And afterwards, saying he won the fight, clear 3-0, that really didn't go down well with UFC fans. And basically, he lost all his fan base. And I haven't seen any videos on this guy for ages, any content on this guy for ages. This guy's literally disappeared off social media. He has no presence. All his brand deals are probably collapsing in on him. And yeah, I mean, he's going to have to fight someone soon, isn't he? But they're probably going to do the Jared Gordon rematch. I have no idea. But this guy ain't touching the top 15 ever. He's going to have to get the biggest fluke to get into there. But yeah, I mean, he had a good start to the UFC. So he had a bit of hype. He got 3 finishes and 3 fights. And then Jared Gordon just exposed him that he's not actually that good after all. We move on. The biggest flop in UFC history? No, but close. Yeah, he is. Ben Askren is the biggest flop in UFC history. This guy was 22-0 when he came in, and people were calling him the American Khabib. I'm not even kidding. People were comparing him to Khabib, and he actually wanted a fight with Khabib. That is the most crazy thing I've ever heard. Imagine Ben Askren fighting Khabib. That would actually be crazy. Obviously, he started the UFC with that controversial win to Robbie Lawler, where he kind of submitted him, but then Robbie Lawler wasn't unconscious, but then he was unconscious, but then he didn't mind losing that fight like that, which suggests maybe he was unconscious and he just played it off well. But then after that, people were like, oh, and some people started to dislike the guy because, he was celebrating the win a lot, even though he kind of didn't really win legitly. But not really his fault, to be fair. And then obviously he fought Jorge Masvidal. Lots of trash talking leading up to that, and then he gets literally memed overnight. Overnight, this guy became the biggest UFC meme of all time. We've all seen the video. Everyone's seen that knockout about 50 times in their lives, and then got absolutely embarrassed by Jake Paul. But we're not going to dive too much into that because this is a UFC tier list. But you get the idea. Ben Askren is terrible on the feet. He's literally an F-tier striker. Grappling isn't actually that good. This guy, obviously, he was better when he was younger, but not very athletic, to be honest. I don't think he's that strong. And, he almost got KO'd by Robbie Lawler on the ground, which really does suggest to me that his grappler might have been overrated and he was crushing cans over in Bellator. And he is part of the worst swap deal in UFC history. They actually got rid of Demetrius Johnson for Ben Askren. I can't believe that. What an L from Dana White, but he didn't like Demetrius Johnson, so he got rid of him. But jeez, that is bad decisions from the UFC. Surprise, surprise, nothing's changed there. We move on. Sage Northcutt, I'm gonna put him in C. To be fair, this guy he did leave the UFC, having won his last 3 fights, so fair play to him. We can't exactly say he got destroyed in his last few fights, but he lost to people that he should have been beating at the same time. Actually, we're putting him in D because this guy had a lot of potential. You see, unlike Paddy, people genuinely thought Sage Northcutt was like the next big thing in the UFC. Obviously, he had good wins, he had a lot of good knockouts, and he was quite good on the ground too. But then he just kind of got exposed. Mickey Gall beat him, which is never good because we all know that Mickey Gall ain't very legit either. In fact, he could have maybe been on this list, but he isn't. But Sage Northcutt obviously left the UFC, and then he joined ONE, and then you thought things couldn't get any worse to him, but they could. He got absolutely flatline KO'd in 40 seconds in his first fight in ONE. It was absolutely brutal. He took like 2 years off, 3 years off, and he's finally got a win again. He got a heel hook submission in like 40 seconds, but I'm pretty sure he might have got dropped if I can remember correctly. He got dropped, then he got the heel hook, so it is a bit worrying, but at least he got a win. But I'm not putting this guy too high up because he did actually get a lot of good wins in the UFC, got finishes, showed an alright skill set, but he lost fights that he definitely should have won. And this guy had loads of hype coming into UFC. People were calling this guy a karate prodigy, and he looked really good, but maybe just kind of didn't live up to the pressure and the hype. But nice guy, and he's staying in D tier. We move on. Ryan Hall. Some jiu-jitsu guys generally thought this guy was going to tear up the UFC. Safe to say he hasn't. Has he got a few submission wins and decision wins? Yes. Is he completely boring to watch? Yes, he probably just loses fans, and then obviously they gave him the matchup against Ilya Tapuria. I think that was kind of the UFC's message to say to him, this is your punishment for making boring fights. And they literally gave him a KO machine at featherweight. You can go and watch my video on him if you want to, but I'll put that up there in the corner. Yeah, obviously, kind of weird fighting style. I don't think the UFC like it. I know Dana definitely doesn't like it. And a lot of jiu-jitsu guys were saying this guy was going to like sub a load of guys and he's got the max jiu-jitsu. But it turns out, if you've got average jiu-jitsu or good jiu-jitsu at that, you can just ground and pound this guy, because he didn't really consider that he'd be getting ground and pounded on the ground in his jiu-jitsu classes. But yeah, Reinhold's going there. You know, he didn't have a lot of hype, but some people thought he was going to get a load of submission wins. And although he has had a few, he's been it's been clear that, you know, he's never going to do it at the top level. And also it looks like he doesn't really train that much from his physique. I know he does, but you know, it doesn't look like he does. We move on. Another S tier. You're probably wondering, who could it be? How could I forget? CM Punk. Did this guy have a lot of legit hype? No, but did this guy have a lot of hype? Yeah, all the WWE fanboys thought this guy was gonna win. Little did they know he was in his late 30s, and he lost to Mickey Gall, which is a shame. Lost in the first round to Ray Naked Joe, which is a bit of an L. But to be fair, Mickey Gall is kind of like a nightmare matchup for CM Punk. I thought they would have maybe gave him someone who's going to stand and bang with him. But bit unfair that they gave him Mickey Gall. But you got to beat these guys. Come on, CM. And was it a crazy career decision? Yes. Did he get paid a lot of money? Probably, yes. Does Dana White hate him? I'm sure. But this guy had a lot of hype of people that didn't really watch the UFC. I think they thought he was going to win the fight. Didn't. Then somehow decided he was going to fight a guy that Mickey Gall had also beaten. So maybe he thought he could beat him. You know, if Mickey Gall's beating him as well, he must be on his level. Although the fight was closer, he still got dominated. At least he didn't get finished. And the guy taunted him and stuff. And I'm pretty sure he taunted him that much, the fight got ruled a no contest in the end or something like that. So he's technically like 1-1 in the UFC. Or like the guy tested positive or something. But, you know, WWE hype absolutely failed to live up to expectations of the WWE fans. The UFC fans knew this guy was going to flop from the get-go, because he's a wrestler, like a fictional wrestler, not even a real wrestler. So yeah, it was obvious, but he's going there just for the sake of it and because he's the biggest meme in the UFC of all time. We move on. Another E tier. This guy isn't really a massive flop by any means. Actually, we're going in F tier because he's barely a flop, but he kind of failed expectations because obviously it's Said Nurmagomedov. He isn't Nurmagomedov, so he has very big boots to fill because we know how good they are in the UFC. And obviously I know he's not related, but he just isn't as good as the other Nurmagomedovs. He just struggles. He's not really a grappler as much either. So but he definitely isn't as good as the others. Obviously you got Umar, Habib, and yeah, he's definitely the worst out of them. It's fair to say he's got a few. He just lost his most recent fight, and he's had losses before that too, and he's had a lot of close fights. So that's why he's there. You know, he beat people. Yeah, absolutely, but he's just not as legit, and I don't really think he's gonna be a top 15 fighter. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about Saeed. But I'm just putting him here not because he's bad. He's a decent fighter, but he's got big boots to fill, like I said. So a lot of people are probably expecting a lot from him, but he's not as good as the others Nurmagomedovs in the UFC. Final fighter, Edmund Shabazian. Okay, I just can't watch this guy fight anymore. I feel so bad for him. This guy's cardio is so bad. His grappling's bad and his cardio is really bad. His striking's alright, and he won a load of fights. I think he won like his first like 5 UFC fights or something, and now he's been exposed and his gas tank's really bad. He got a load of finishes in his initial UFC run, but now he's been exposed. This guy's just become a punching bag. People are just spamming takedowns on this guy, and he can't stop it. And I'm worried for him. He's just taking so much damage, gassing out. It's crazy. Really big just kind of like he was doing all right, and then he just flopped completely. Don't know what happened. I think he kind of got exposed, and people realized how beatable he was and how to beat him. But yeah, that's why Edmund's there. It's a bit of a shame, to be honest, because he seems like a nice guy, but his striking, considering his striking, isn't that good, and he doesn't really have the opportunities to finish a lot of people, when he should be, you know what I mean, compared to a lot of strikers who, you know, make the most of their time on the feet against grapplers. So that is an issue with him. His cardio's bad. Like I said, he gasses so quickly. He literally gasses in a round. And his takedown defense, it's okay, but once he gets taken out, he can't really get back up. So that's why he's there. You know, didn't have a lot of hype, but kind of flopped after a first few initial wins. But that is the tier list. Obviously, I've missed a lot of people, but I just couldn't think of any more flops. So let me know down in the comments who else I should have added to this tier list. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to be live streaming tonight, so don't miss that. Subscribe if you're new. Content like this every single day, like I said. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.